Hello, everyone.
Hello
We're
and a very warm welcome. My name is Yvonne Bignall and I am the UK G100 Healthcare and Wellness Wing Country Chair. G100 is a global network of women across the globe, across different sectors, coming together to create an equal, progressive and inclusive environment for women worldwide. The big vision is to provide the thought leadership on what needs to be done for inclusivity, safety, economics and social empowerment of women globally. In the UK, as the Healthcare and Wellness Wing, we have created our very specific mission, which is all around empowering women and their health. We are set to do three very specific things: educate women so they can maintain good health, encourage women to assertively advocate for their well-being, their mind, body and soul, and empower women to critically evaluate their health options and challenge the status quo, challenging norms and busting myths.
Hello, everyone. We're here with one more podcast from G100, and we have Andree and Lorraine with us. This is a month for women, awareness for menopause and breast cancer. And we have those two wonderful women here to share their stories and encourage us and really give us the hope that we need in these two topics. And from what I understand, you're both quite experts in both. So looking forward to this discussion. And
thank you for having us.
Yeah, thanks, Evi.
So we were talking just before we went live this afternoon. We're both members of the G100 and the Health and Wellness Wing. And both of us, we've just discovered, both have been through breast cancer journeys and both of us have been through menopause. But today we're here to talk about, it's Breast Care Awareness Month. So we're here to talk mainly about breast cancer and sharing our journeys and how it's helped, and now I help educate, encourage other women going through a similar journey, and how, it's your body, it's your life, how you can empower yourself. So shall I hand over to you, Lorraine, to just sort of give us a snapshot of your journey and how you ended up where you are now?
Oh, Andree, thank you so very much. Yes, and we didn't know we both had similarities. So really interesting, because I had my own business from 1982, which was all about helping women look and feel great. It was fashion design, manufacture and retail. And even at a young age, I was creating gowns for ladies going to very special events that were going through all stages of menopause, perimenopause, coming out the other side. So I was very much aware of fabrics, what to wear, women put on weight and bloating and aren't feeling as comfortable, etc., etc. So even from a young age, I was really aware about empowering women and educating them on what type of things to wear to bring out their own natural beauty and encouraging them to be the light and shine no matter what was happening in their life. So then at 43, I was not only perimenopausal, always had very heavy periods. None of my friends had anything like me. I could have had shares with some of the tampon companies, but I didn't anyway. Then also at 43, I had my first of 8 breast lumps removed. Ooh. And I was running a full-on business with a big team, mainly women. And as I said, and they were all going through their own stages, because they were aged 25 to 65. And so I just had to basically crack on. And some days I would be standing there thinking, what am I doing? I was looking at like a really complex gown that I was creating that might have had 50 odd pieces to it for a woman who probably had challenges like me. They were in their own form of menopause or even breast cancer. I was creating a dress for a lady who'd had a double mastectomy. So I was really used to doing that. And then I had my own issues that I was dealing with, but I could never say to my clients, I wanted to make it about them. By the way, I'm having a really crappy day. I've got a headache. I've got horrendous period pain. I feel, like I'm on another planet, because they don't want to hear that. They've come into me because they want love and light upon them. And then what happened was, at the age of 49, I ended up having a gynae because I had endometriosis and fibroids. So they put in a Mirena coil. They did the operation, put in a Mirena coil. They said, we can't really risk you having periods again, because there was too much going on. And they said, you're going to have that for around about 5 to 7 years. And by the time we take it out, you should be through the menopause. So that got fitted. Then 2 years later, round about 52, 53, then I had more full-on breast cancer. And with that then came the radiotherapy, the treatments. Now, by this time I'd finished the fashion design and manufacturing business up after 30 years, because I had serious back problems on top of that. And of course, when you've got period issues and all that going on and the gynae, that makes your back worse. Then I was dealing with breast cancer. But by this point, I'd started my health and well-being business. And I actually, when I was back having my appointments, was healing faster than anyone else. And they kept asking me, what was I doing? Well, I worked with a lot of nutritionists and doctors, and I was really, really careful on what I was eating. So I've never really had processed food, but I was being extra careful. Now, I was, a big kind of regular coffee drinker while I was working. And, I would have wine, alcohol, what have you. And one of the nutritionists I worked with said, ditch the coffee, ditch the alcohol, make sure you're not having anything from a pig, and organic food. So I followed all that, plus using products that didn't have all the nasties in. So I was doing that and I was healing really well. And then, of course, I was given tamoxifen. So that has so many side effects. I'm just going to, if you guys listening out there haven't ever heard some of the side effects, think about the side effects also of menopause. So the side effects of tamoxifen are hot flushes, irregular periods, nausea, vomiting, fatigue, weight gain, headaches, tiredness, increase in bone and tumor and pain, irregular or loss of menstrual periods. And there are some much worse ones out there to do with ovarian cancer. But anyway, so a lot of those actually apply to how people feel during menopause. So how do you know what's what? And I remember it was a male friend who's medical says, I hate to tell you, darling, he said, I know you look great in a polo neck, but you're probably never going to wear one again. He said, because you're going to be absolutely on fire. So I kind of looked at it from all angles. Luckily, I actually do have a really quirky sense of humor, and I will always try and see the very best in everything, no matter what it is. And I thought, right, okay, so what we need to do is we need to really up the protein and make sure that I'm taking everything that I can, because if you want to lose weight, you need to up your protein. And then also I take a natural vegan collagen builder. So that helps. Collagen helps you repair. And I think a lot of people forget that as we get older, we produce less and less and less collagen, and you need to repair. So I thought, right, that helps. I ditched the coffee and I take B vitamin energy fizz sticks, which are great for tiredness. And then again, all the other things that I do to be well and make sure I have the right vitamins and minerals, good rounded food. And yes, I'm a bit naughty because I do like alcohol, but balance. It's all about balance. 80-20 rule, be good 80% of the time, and then you can do that naughty 20%. But also, because my background is fashion design and manufacture, I know how women feel when they're not feeling that dress that they've always loved, that they want to put on, and suddenly they might be bloated, they might have had reconstruction for breast cancer or not, or maybe they don't want to have it, and what do I wear? My body doesn't look the same. Waists generally fill out as people get older, and suddenly they've got that favorite dress. And so I love coming at it from all angles. And I think when you've been through it, and Andree, you're the same, when you've been through menopause and breast cancer, you know how it feels. So somebody who hasn't been through any of that, they can only give you maybe what they read about or have learned about, but they can't really put themselves in your body to know how you feel. Like I had the tiniest waist on the planet, and I'm actually quite glad it's broadened out because jeans never fitted me. I had a gap about that fitted my hip but my waistband. So that was one thing I was actually quite glad about, but I wasn't so happy that some of those dresses with the tiny waist didn't fit me. Luckily, I could alter them. But for a lot of women, they open up their wardrobe, they're feeling awful, they're hot, they're flushy, they're just not feeling themselves. They've got maybe brain fog, maybe the family are demanding upon them, maybe at work it's not so easy because their boss doesn't understand. Like one of my clients I was putting a dress on, her boss said, if you don't stop sweating, you can't come into these meetings. And that just made her feel even worse. So I used to create her outfits. And luckily, the women that work for me, I was sympathetic, it didn't help sometimes that I wasn't feeling great. They were off because they weren't feeling great. And we still had maybe a bride getting married that needed the outfit. But I think looking at it all the way around, how a woman feels. So if we look good, we generally have a more empowered feeling, isn't it? But it is encouraging people to do what they can to look good and educating them and basically giving them the tools to help them look and feel their absolute best. And I truly believe that we all deserve to absolutely look and feel our best. So I think that the kind of holistic approach and looking at it from the inside out, what's going on the inside, so helping ourselves with correct nutrition and making sure that we're looking after ourselves. And I think women with kids, you've got women that are going through menopause and they've got a busy career. Maybe they've also had cancer and they're dealing with everything. They always put themselves last. And I think that they feel guilty when they put themselves first. And so really what we want to do, isn't it? We want to educate people in all the things they can do and encourage them to look after themselves first and 100% empower them to, no matter how different they look from how they used to look, empower them that they can go on and they can still be incredible, maybe in a new form. But it's like with fashion. I love high heels. I've got really bad arthritis in my knee, a metal hip. And if I'm doing a car to bar only, and I've got them on for a short time, I can do them. But other than that, I can't. So I changed some of my style so I can wear trainer type shoes. And luckily during the weird COVID years, it became trendy to do trainers and dresses. So, it is just about pivoting. And I think we've all had to pivot in life, probably with careers as well. When things have happened and we're not feeling well, we've had to do a bit of pivoting. But I think generally, as women go through the different stages, we have to pivot, whether that's to stay on top of your game or just feel normal.
So can I pick up on that? Because I remember, and I did so much research when I got my cancer, but I read a book and it was saying about, I don't feel, how do I explain to my husband and my friends and my family that I don't feel, hopefully when I come out the other side, I'll be, you have to pivot your life. You have to look at things differently. But I remember saying to my husband, he said to me, don't be daft. And a lot of women feel like this. I said to him, because I'd had a lumpectomy, I'd had lymph nodes removed, and luckily I didn't have to have a mastectomy. But, so women out there do, and maybe have reconstruction. But I remember saying to him, I don't feel like a whole woman anymore. I feel different, and he said, don't be silly. I said, but also I was scared that he wouldn't love me anymore. Now, as ludicrous as it sounds, I mean, I have two friends that have been through cancer in their 30s, and their husbands walked out on them the minute they got diagnosed. So it's about the psychological. It's not just about the physical. You talk about getting into nice dresses and your shape changes and tamoxifen. I was on tamoxifen. It does all these weird, wonderful things to your body. But it's not just about the physical impact. It's the psychological. And so many women suffer after. So you go through all of this stuff. Hospital visits, radiotherapy, chemo, if you choose to have that, all of these things that physically change your body, but mentally, it's the emotional stuff. And a lot of women, when the hospital visits stop, what have you got? You know, you're a changed person, you've been through hell, none of your friends seem to understand it, or some of your friends do, but a lot of people don't know what to say to you because they feel uncomfortable. But yeah, it's about that feeling. I felt different. I wasn't me, you know, I had a little bit taken away, you know, and that sounds, but I think so many women need to, like you're saying, my diet's changed 25 years ago, way before I had cancer. But it's about changing your lifestyle, you know, exercising, all of the things that you've mentioned, because that will change your physical body. But it also, you know, you also need to go and get counselling and help, because it's out there. But so many women don't even know what's out there, where to go. So, yes, I just sort of picked up on what you were saying about looking and feeling.
I think that's such a great point. I mean, I think my personality, you know, I didn't have the psychological thing. I just decided I was going to be as fabulous as I wanted to be, whether somebody thinks I'm fabulous or not, it doesn't matter. You know, I was confident enough, but I wasn't confident at one point, Andree, and it was because I had 14 people when I still had my full-on fashion business for a Christmas lunch, and I was just like in pain, and I was hot, and so it was snowing. It was something like -1. Everybody arrived in kind of thick knitwear, and I've not got much more than Madonna would have on stage. And you know, they're looking at me, and I'm thinking, why are they all looking at me? You know, I'm hot. But yeah, I suppose that was a bit of lack of confidence for me, was probably the most psychological part. But I think for some people, like I've got friends just now, several of them going through different stages of different types of cancer treatment, and two have got really strong mindsets, and I know they're handling it really well, and other ones not so. And I gave my time up to the Maggie Centre in Edinburgh with women who, because they'd lost all their hair, they were feeling, you know, unattractive, and it was all going on in their head. Everything was going on in the head. You know, I'm never going to look the same again. And I went along to do a whole thing to do with style and colour and fashion, because that's one of the things I'm also qualified in. And it was amazing how it uplifted their spirits, but they still needed to have that counselling and speak to someone who helped them with, you know, their husband doesn't want to be with them anymore, or, you know, they're just seen as being different. You're absolutely right with that.
So I was diagnosed in 2011 in November. I had my lumpectomy and my lymph nodes removed in the 2 days after Christmas. Worst Christmas ever. And, you know, because I don't like hospitals, worried sick. The first person, so when I got, the day I got diagnosed, you know, I'm a really healthy person. It absolutely blew me out of the water. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. And I got what I call my tribe around me. I reached out to my homeopath, because I've been using alternative remedies for years, 40 odd years. I reached out to him, and he said, right, we need to get you so that you can think straight, because I was in a mess. And I'm a really strong, confident, resilient woman. So he said, right, let's get the mindset, and then call me tomorrow once it's settled down, and then we'll talk. I had reached out to a friend who just qualified as a hypnotherapist and psychotherapist, said, I need your help to get me through the surgery and get me through my journey. I then went to a nutritionist, and she said, well, actually, there's nothing I can help you with, because I'm gluten-free, dairy-free, you know, I cook from scratch, all of those things. I exercise a lot. I walk my dog miles a day. I go to the gym. I do yoga. I do Pilates. I do meditation. So all of those things. And so, you know, I got my tribe around me. And then I had the surgery, and then they suggested, my surgeon suggested said, oh, next stage is chemotherapy. And my answer to that was, no, I'm not having it. He said, well, you've got to have it. I said, I haven't got to. It's my body and my life. I don't, you know, can't force me. And he said, well, then if you don't have it, you'll have to sign a disclaimer to say you've refused treatment. I said, so be it. But I'd done so much research, you know, and I thought, no. So I said, when I see the oncologist, that was my next appointment, I need to talk to him about what I want, what, you know, what's available, what I need, why I need it. So they suggested chemo, radiotherapy, 15 sessions, and tamoxifen. So I was very lucky to have had the most amazing oncologist ever. He was caring, he listened, but he was also interested in sort of alternative, you know, and so he asked me what I was doing to aid recovery. And like you, when I went back for a checkup and when I went to the physio, they couldn't believe how quickly I'd healed. And that's because I was using aloe vera, I was drinking aloe vera, I was using homeopathic remedies, I was having hypnotherapy, you name it, I was having Reiki, you know, whatever I could throw at it, I did. And they couldn't believe how quickly I healed. And because I was using all of these alternatives, when I did have the radiotherapy, which I agreed to, the radiologist, the second but last session, she said, well, you've hardly even, like, you know, you're not burnt. This is in the days when, you know, things have changed now. She said, you're barely pink. I thought, yeah, because every time I went for a session, I got told off because they told me I'd got to use like aqueous cream. I've got to use this. I've got to use that. Simple soap. Look at the back of Simple Soap. And the ingredients blew my mind. Full of, yeah. So I wasn't doing any of that. And of course so by about the third attempt, I just said, yeah, I'm using it. And I wasn't. Anyway, my resilience and I'm a bit of a rule breaker, always have been, always will. But when I went to that first appointment with my oncologist, I took a list of 25 questions with me. I said, I need you to be honest. And those questions were really deep. What's it going to do to my body? What's the damage it will do if I have chemo? What's the difference if I don't have it to if I have it in terms of my longevity of life? And he was absolutely brilliant. One of the things I want to share, because this is about education, was when I said to him, where am I now after having treatment, surgery? And he said, at the moment, you've got a 75% chance of it not coming back within the next 10 years. Okay. If I have chemo then, which meant that I'd lose my hair, often your toenails and whatever fall off, and, it can give you neuropathy, whatever it is. And I'm not saying to people don't have it, because if it saves your life, you do have it, but it's your choice. This is where people need educating. Don't just go along with what they throw at you. And part of our mission, Evi, as you know, and Lorraine, is challenge the status quo. Don't just accept what you're being told. Challenge it. So I challenged it. So he said, where you are now, you're 75%. If you have chemo, it will make a 2 to 4% difference.
Crazy.
What? I said, well, then I'm not having it. I did have the radiotherapy, and that made another 4% difference. And then they gave me tamoxifen. And I remember going back for my second appointment with him. And he said, how's the tamoxifen? I just stared at him and he went, you're not taking it, are you? I said, no, I've come off it. He said, why? Because I'd done tons and tons of research, and all the contraindications and all the side effects. I just said, I'm going to take my chance. I've got a healthy lifestyle. I will do it holistically, and that's what I've done. So that's 2011, I had the surgery. So that's 13 years on. My diet is the same. I don't drink. I've never smoked. I exercise a lot. I cook from scratch, and I eat lots of vegetables, fruit and things. So yeah, it's about, I think, in terms of G100 and where our mission is, it's about helping educate people. And I became part of a charity called Hummingbird. When I first started, my friend took me, who'd had cancer, to my first session with them following my first radiotherapy appointment. And I've been a member there ever since. And so, you know, it's about, I just give, you know, my story. It's up to people to choose their right path. If they choose orthodox medication and treatment, that is fine. That's for them. It wasn't for me. So what, you know, I talk to people and say, this is my story, but it's entirely up to you. But go away and challenge, ask the questions, do your research, you know, change your lifestyle if you want to. If you want to carry on eating sugar and cakes and, you know, fast food, then that's your prerogative. But, you know, I go into these sessions and we have treatments, we have therapists. I was a volunteer therapist for a while. And, you know, you just listen to people's stories and you just say, well, have you thought of this? You know, this is what I did. Just go and do some research, have a look into it. And they say, no one told me that. And that's what I found. What I found was the NHS do not tell you. So they take you down a path. You know, you must use this product, you must use that, you must go through this, you have to have chemo. But what they don't do is I think they're getting a little better now, but they don't help educate and encourage people to think, you know, and try things that might work for them, like meditation and mindfulness, anything like that, you know. And mine was about my mindset. I've got such a strong mindset. And I remember standing in Waitrose and my daughter and my husband said to me, you've got to have chemo. I said, I'm not having it. I'm telling you. My daughter, they were shouting at me in the middle of the Waitrose, you've got to have it. I said, I don't have to have it. It's my body, my life. Yes, but you might die, is what she said. I said, I'm not going anywhere. This isn't going to beat me, you know. And that was my mindset. So my journey, you know, is my own journey, but all the strategies and all the resilience and all the things that I did along the way, I now are advocating to help other women who are going through any form of ill health. It doesn't need to be cancer, it could be anything. And so I finally, in January this year, got round to publishing this book. That's my author copy. It's called My Path to Hope and Wellness, Self-Care and Resilience Strategies for Those Diagnosed with a Serious Illness. Part 1 is my journey and the things that I've just shared with the audience, with you today. The second part are other strategies that you can use, like counselling, like writing a will, you know, like things like Reiki, reflexology, all of those, aloe vera, any alternative therapies that you can use to help you, whether it helps you back to full health and recovery, or whether it gives you a nice, you know, a good lifestyle if you are someone who it isn't curable, because people live with cancer for years and years. But it's just advocates to, you know, for people to say, this is what I did, this is what you can do, but have you thought about there's strategies in there that, you know, talk about limiting beliefs, core values, mindset. So, yeah, I produced the book finally. It's taken me 12 years. But the reason behind the book is to help educate, empower and encourage other people to go look for themselves. It's their body, their life. You only get one shot at it. Why would you not reach out and look elsewhere to get back to well-being in mind, body and spirit? So that's my story.
I love that. In fact, it's funny, I didn't take chemotherapy either.
Didn't you?
No. And I did, because I had my first thought when I had my fashion business and I had private healthcare, thinking if ever I have to go in for anything, you know, my business was so full on. I thought, you get to choose, don't you? You can basically pick your date where you can't on the NHS. But I'm a great advocate for the NHS, and my sister are way all up there. They do amazing work. So I had my operations privately, with the private oncologist and surgeon, but then I had my radiotherapy in the NHS because I was going to be there daily and I would have had to travel a lot further to do it. But interesting, like you, I also had a great surgeon and oncologist. And I think because I'd had 7 lumpectomies before I then had
Oh, wow.
was more serious. By the time, and I got to know the surgeon, the consultant well. By the time on the last one, I had gone for a scan, checkup, mammogram, because I had to have them fairly regularly. And he said, "Oh, we'll make a date for you to come back, but if you need to change it, do." So anyway, I was guest speaker at something, and I changed it. And then I was on my way to be guest speaker when he phoned me and he said, "Lorraine, you changed." I said, "Well, you said I could." He said, "Yes, but I hadn't had the results back." He said, "And I know you're heading off to your annual conference in Las Vegas in a couple of days." He said, "And I don't think I can tell anyone else this over the phone but you, because you've had a lot of lumps removed and you well." He said, "This one's more serious." I said, "Okay, so I'm guessing it's cancer. That's fine. Book me in. I'm back on whatever day." So I went in like one day after I got back, and I thought,
Oh,
well, that's
wow.
because I'll have been at a conference, I'll have partied, I'll be tired, I'll be quite happy for the rest. So I didn't get upset about it. And it was on the last day coming back on the plane with some of my team, and they said, "Oh, what's your plan this week, Rain?" I said, "Oh, I'm actually going into hospital." They said, "Why?" I said, "Oh, I've got breast cancer." And then and I just said it so, as if I'm buying a new pair of shoes. So, but I think that's because in our business, we do mindset, we do meditation every morning, we do gratitude, we, have our affirmations, we do personal development reading. We always have like a bit of a boogie around and get ourselves in that uplifted state. So I think for me, because I'd already, each time I'd had a lump removed before, I kept, and I would just think, well, at one point, it's not, it's going to be a bit more serious. And I knew, and he said, "And we need to take lymph nodes out." And of course, there's a lot you can't do then. So even when I'm doing gym workouts, like sometimes the weight in this one will feel a lot heavier.
Yeah.
But the oncologist and the surgeon were great. But the only reason I took tamoxifen was because a friend died of breast cancer, and they said if she'd taken tamoxifen, she would have had a better chance. And she was a really good friend, and I think that's what made me take the tamoxifen. Now, years later, would I? Well, maybe not. However, the chemotherapy, my good friend is my chiropractor, and he said chemotherapy is going, and the one of the other reasons, he said chemotherapy is really going to make your back and your bones a lot worse. He said you can't afford to have that. And but I'd already been reading everything else about it, and again, like you, the percentage for me and also for you wasn't going to be a big difference, whereas maybe someone else where the percentage is much higher, they're going to have maybe an 80% higher chance.
I agree.
I would take it. But I think when it's so small, it's like someone says, "Well, you need to do this because you've got 1% more chance." And it's like, no, or 2% chance, or whatever. But I think each person has to, as you say, educate themselves. And, you've very much, Andree, been encouraging people to go out there and do their research so that they can empower themselves.
That's right.
And it's so weird. I mean, I didn't know today because, we've hardly had much of a conversation on some of the Zooms, just little bits. But, I didn't know our stories sort of cross paths in quite so many ways. So maybe viewers would have thought it'd be better if we have different people. But I think we've both shown it from slightly different angles. And, I think everybody, that wants to upgrade their health and get your book, first of all, they need to go and get that book you've written.
You need to get the book, it's on Amazon. Anyway, I'm not here to plug the book, but I wanted to share that because of what I went through and come out the other side, and my strategies and resilience and holistic therapy, all the things I learned along the way that aren't shared with people. I wanted to write the book to help other people going through either a similar or a health condition, because the strategies are the same, whether it's breast cancer or whether it's multiple sclerosis or something. You still can use alternatives. You can still have the right mindset and stop the limiting beliefs. Because there are people out there that go, "Oh, I've got cancer, I'm going to die." Well, you're giving up before you started. But yeah, so that was the intention for the book, just to help other people.
Interesting. You touched on the no gluten and no dairy. So we run a 30 days to health living and beyond Thrive program, which has no gluten and no dairy. When I had that Mirena coil fitted, if anybody out there is listening, I had never had a problem with gluten, and I could be in France and live on crusty bread and cheese and some wine.
No, I can't. No, neither of them.
Not now, but when I was younger. But I couldn't eat any kind of gluten because it was like IBS. And really not good. And especially, when women are putting on weight, that they're the two things to ditch, gluten and dairy. But when you were talking about the products, I didn't use the simple products either, especially because I've got a health and well-being business. I actually used our ABC baby range because, it is so incredible. And they said, I hope you're using the simple. And I did what you did. I was just like, yes, yes, yes. And again, I didn't burn either. And so, what goes on your skin goes into your system in something like 60 seconds. So guys, go and check it out, especially if you're please check those out.
And one of the last things that I would like to add is, ladies, anyone out there who is listening to this podcast, I encourage you to go check those little pink boobies, or big pink boobies. But make sure that you go and have tests. You check your own boobs all the time, and because you never ever know. I was 52 when I was diagnosed. Never in a million years. And all my friends said to me, you're so healthy. You've got, it doesn't discriminate. But what I recognize is that the cancer, is dormant in everybody. And it's brought on by life, by trauma and whatever. And all the stuff that I'd gone through in, previous years, working in a toxic male-dominated environment, all sorts of things had led to eventually the cancer, growing. Maybe my immune system was suppressed. But I would encourage you, go make sure you get checked out. Go have smear tests, because that's the other one. Cervical cancer is a killer. But yeah, just look after yourself. And we advocate in G100, we're all about educating, encouraging and empowering women to look after themselves. Self-care is absolutely essential. If you don't look after yourself, who else is going to do that for you? Right? So and I now have a confidence and well-being. I've had a business for 22 years, but in the last 2 years, I've niched into more of the well-being because I'm passionate about it. Hence the book. But so it's about empowering women, teaching them how to be resilient, and also advocating for their own self-care and well-being. So that's me. I'm Andree.
Lorraine, any last words before I say goodbye to our audience?
For those of you that have got cats or dogs, so my dog had actually, on the lump that was the big one, jumped on me. And that's how I felt it. It was so low down, it was touching my lung. So my radiotherapy clipped my lung, and I've got little nodules on my lung that they have to watch out. But he also said to me, because he said, how did you discover it? I said, you're going to laugh. The dog jumped on me. And I thought, oh, that doesn't feel quite right. And so he said that he had a woman in, and she came in because the cat kept scratching her breast, and he checked, couldn't find it, and she went back and the cat was still scratching, so she went back. So they did a more in-depth check than they ever would, and it turned out she did have a cancerous lump, and it was so buried in, hard to find. And he said one of his biggest tips now is, if you've got a dog or a cat and they're sniffing or scratching, they are so in tune with what's going on. Pay attention, go and see about it.
I've heard that as well.
Amazing stories, ladies. It has been so inspiring, and for somebody that hasn't really gone through something like that, but that we all have somebody in our environment that they have gone through either fought it and were victorious or not. The important thing is what both of you said, Andree and Lorraine. Look after yourselves, make
Yeah.
sure you do your own investigation and research before you accept anything else, because I love what Andree says, is like my life, my body. And that's how we all need to
Mm.
look after our own bodies. So thank you very much for a wonderful afternoon and your messages. And that's it. um, See you on our next podcast next month. Thank you.
Thank
Thanks, Evi. Thanks, Lorraine.
thank you
Bye for
both.
now.
Bye. Bye.